Join me today for another BattleTech book review, this time Elements of Treason Opportunity by Craig A. Reed Jr. Welcome back to the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bob, and today we're going to be talking about the novel Elements of Treason Opportunity by Craig A. Reed Jr. Previously, I've done a review for Elements of Treason, I apologize, Duty, the same gentleman. And for those of you who haven't checked out that video, please do so. And in the comments, the author was kind enough to answer some questions and make some comments about the review. So if you want to, I guess if you want to interact with him, he's posted there. And I'd like to send out a thank you for him for doing that. That's always appreciated. Never had a creator of anything I reviewed actually comment on it before, so that was a new experience. And like I said, appreciate the comments, and I had some questions about this book that I wanted to clear up before I got to the review, and he was kind enough to do so. So, there's going to be spoilers eventually in this, probably sooner rather than later. So you've been warned. But this book takes place in the IlClan Era, so the current, as of this filming, the current era of BattleTech. And this, like the last book, focuses on the area of space that was formerly controlled by the Jade Falcons, the occupation zone. But since they packed up and went for Terra, now there's all kinds of planets for the taking. And this one, it's similarly written. It's it's a well-written book in my opinion. I liked the characters quite a bit. I was not the biggest fan of Vedet Brewer in his previous novel appearances, whereas here, his character arc is definitely, well, I don't want to say his character arc has changed, but his character has definitely come around because he was briefly the Archon for the Lyran Commonwealth, and this is after he was dethroned. And he has definitely learned some lessons and is definitely taking a far more intelligent approach to things. He has gotten to the point that he could admit that he has blind spots and has tried to surround himself with people that he trusts that can compensate for that. So I always like it whenever a character figures out their deficiencies and tries to overcome them. You would think you wouldn't have to say that for novels, but there's some real crap out there, and so it's nice actually seeing that in action here. And I also, just as a little side note, I could never keep straight whether it was Brewer or Brewster. And there is actually a joke in the book where another character calls him by Brewster, and he has to correct him to Brewer. So I'm assuming that was in there because people actually screwed up, or it's just a little coincidence. But anyway, I got a chuckle out of it. But yeah, so this is about he is left Lyran space and is trying to figure out where he can set up elsewhere to try to build a new power base. And they come across a number of worlds where they're not picking up any broadcasts from the Jade Falcons. And eventually his intelligence people are able to piece together that the Jade Falcons have left. They don't know if they're going to return. There's a lot of things they don't know, but they know that they're gone. So they go to, I believe it's Milicia, is how you pronounce it. It's one of the kind of regional capitals, and he has some personal interests there as well. And they decide to set up shop there, and they happen to arrive right in the middle of a civil war between two of the post-Jade Falcon factions, one of whom goes by the name of the Republic, and just as a forewarning, no, it is not the Republic of the Sphere. It's a local group, the Republic of something. Unfortunately, I don't recall off the top of my head. So, and then there's the nobles. And so Brewer tries to put himself in the middle of the situation and come out the hero of the people. So that's what the bulk of the book is about. And like I said, one of my only real, not even really an issue, just a minor, I hate to even label it as a complaint, but I thought that in the first book in the series, and there's a third book as well that I don't have yet, and it's not going to be the next book I review because I've got a couple other BattleTech books in the chain, but I will get to the third book, and it's about the Hell's Horses, Clan Hell's Horses. So here I felt that that there were certain elements that things just kind of worked, and where there probably should have been some friction, and that's what actually prompted Mr. Reed to comment. Is he was restricted by the page count, which that's a thing. It's a very real thing in the printing industry. Um, so here, though, I felt that since all the action was contained to the singular planet and a small group of people, that and they only overcome the issues on this one planet. I felt that it worked a lot better in this novel. There weren't a bunch of things that just worked. Like there were obstacles that had to be overcome, and I thought on that front is better. So I'm not at all saying this one's bad. It's a good book, but I do believe this is a better book, and so I have high hopes for the third one. As some of the other folks have seen online, think it's very good, and it has a much larger page count, so they can really get into things. So kind of going into spoilers here. Brewer does end up taking over. He he initially presents, he goes to both the factions. The Republic, who they're, I kind of get the impression they're socialists or borderline communists. And then the other side are the landed gentry, the nobles. And Brewer sends representatives to both of them without telling the other that he's doing that. So he's secretly dealing with both of them, and eventually comes to a scenario where he ultimately backs the Republic, but does so after getting several of the other nobles to back him against one particular noble. And so he deals with him and takes out most of his power base. And so then collectively they form a new coalition government where there's more of a representative government, but the nobles also get their lands and titles and everything officially recognized. And part of the deal for that is he tells them, "Hey, look, we're going to bring other planets into the coalition because it's now going to be the Vesper Marches, and with him as like top dog. So he's going to bring other planets into the coalition, and he's like, well, they're going to need nobles too. Like you guys are going to become interstellar players here, not just on this one single world." So they go into that. Then they reorganize at the end of the book. They're reorganizing the military into three different groups. So he is accompanied by the Hesperus guards because he's the Duke of Hesperus II, which is like one of the main manufacturing worlds of the Lyran Commonwealth. So they manufacture an awful lot of battle mechs. And he is going to be keeping the Hesperus guards. They're going to start training people. The best of them are going to go into the Hesperus guards. Then second best will go into the new Vesper Marches military. So they will be handling military affairs for the entire organization as far as several planets. And then the last group is like the local militia specifically for the planet Militia. So that's what they're doing is they're reorganizing the military, separation of everything and putting people in charge of this and that. And they've got an exiled heir shows back up to try to reunite both sides. And amidst all this, Vedet Brewer finds out that he has a daughter because he keeps flashing back to he had I don't want to call it a fling or a tryst, but it was a woman that he apparently deeply cared for, but she had to marry someone else for family reasons, and he has never come back, never seen her again, and he comes back, and there's this other woman who reminds him of her, and he finds out that that's that woman's daughter, and then he confirms that it's his daughter. So, but that was an interesting touch because thus far, Brewer's come across as quite self-centered in his other appearances, and here you see him, actually caring about some other people, and this is a nice, help him flesh out his character, and hope to see more of him and her. But you had that. You also had a comment about Jacob Banson, and Banson's Raiders, because the mercenaries that are working for the nobles, their commander is a former member of Banson's Raiders. And it mentions that, Banson was taken out by his employees. And I spoke to the author on this one, questioned him. It's there on the comments of the other video. I want to be clear, because Banson's one of those things that I consider like a dangling loose end from the transition from WizKids to Catalyst. It seems like everyone's just kind of like, oh, that guy, yeah, let's just shove him in the corner, and everyone's just going to assume he's dead. And I even get people on the forums trying to tell me he's dead, and I'm like, well, where'd he die? And they can't pinpoint it, so, going with he's not dead until they say he's dead. And it's not that I'm even a huge fan of Jacob Banson or Banson's Raiders. I'm really not. But it's just he was different. It wasn't just mercenaries. It's this powerful businessman trying to basically work his way into the power structure. And for his efforts, they just kind of write him off. And I'm not talking about this book here. I'm talking this is BattleTech in general. So I would personally like to see an actual resolution to his storyline. Did the Capellans kill him? Did his own people kill him? Has anybody killed him? He's secretly working for the Word of Blake now. Who knows? But I would like an actual answer. And speaking of, there's another character in here who is clearly setting something else up. Now, I unfortunately don't know enough about the distinction between Comstar and the Word of Blake, because I haven't read much of the Jihad era fiction and source books. So I don't know if this gentleman is supposed to be a Comstar guy or specifically a Word of Blake guy. Whichever one he's working for, they're trying to set things up in this region of space because there's now a power vacuum, and they see an opportunity to rise again. So I'm assuming he's Word of Blake by the way he talks, but again, I'm not 100% certain. Probably should have asked the author before I recorded this. So if you're listening to this, Mr. Reed, and you want to chime in on that one, go for it. Always appreciate it. But yeah, so overall, there's a lot of political muckraking in the book. There's a few big battles, but it's primarily the giant battle at the end. And you see Brewer transformed into a character that you could actually get behind. Yeah, he's still super ambitious. It kind of sounds like he realizes that the Archon ship isn't all it's cracked up to be, and he doesn't want to just be an empty vessel sitting on a throne. So I don't know that he's even going to make a move for the Archon ship again in the future. He might prefer to just be the power behind the throne, might be setting up literally just his own little fiefdom here away from everybody. So I definitely have to see how they interact with the Tamar Pact, the Malthus Syndicate, the Remnant Falcon factions, the Ghost Bears, the Hell's Horses, all those guys. Be interesting to see how that all shakes out in the future. This was definitely a better, not editorial, creative decision on the part of Catalyst to empty out a section of space and make it volatile once again, to where everyone's going to be hiring mercenaries and everyone's brother. So, it's exciting. Things are changing on some fronts. It's not like I think this is going to bring down like the Lyran Commonwealth or anything. But it's interesting to see change, and not just for change's sake, but excuse me, but to see change that comes across as at least reasonably organic. If event A occurs, then events B, C, and D should also occur, kind of thing. Not, we want B, C, and D to occur. They just happen. That's bad writing, and that's not to be found here. So, if you want to find out anything more about Vedet Brewer, the beginning of the Vesper Marches, I believe there's more about them in the Tomorrow Rising source book. I'm only about partway into that. So I'm trying to finish that so that I can review the source books instead of just being like, oh, well, this covers the Tomorrow Pact and some other stuff. I want to actually be able to tell you guys what's in it. So that's why, I finish these books before I'm just like, I'll just read the blurb on the back and guess. No, I read the books. Uh, so anyway, that's where things stand at the moment with the Vesper Marches. I definitely recommend the book. And the first book here, the other one. And I'll begin to the third one sometime in the new year. Not sure when. I've got 2 other books in the meantime. I've got my physical copy of it. But I got the other 2 over Christmas, so I'm going to read through those first. One is a Sea Fox book. I can't think of the title of either of these off the top of my head. And the other one follows the Wolf's Dragoons post Battle for Terra. So I'm looking forward to both of those. But anyway, if you guys liked what you heard here, like, share, subscribe, comments, definitely comments. And check out the other BattleTech videos. I will try to remember to link to this one in the description, and it'll probably also be in the little thing up here, depending on how you're watching this. And then over the end, over the outro, there's a link to all the BattleTech videos. So, check those out at your leisure. I appreciate all that. If there are any specific books you guys would want me to try to get to, because once I get a little bit farther, and I think I've got most of the IlClan Era, because I read almost all the Dark Age Era books. Once I get to the WizKids ones, I think there's a couple under Catalyst I haven't got to yet. Once I get most of this done, I'm going to be looking at going backwards. I don't know if I'm going to go back to the beginning and start reading forwards. So I believe it'd be like 4th Succession Era, 4th Succession War Era, somewhere right in there. We'll have to see, because I've got to figure out what the order is. But I do want to check out the older novels, just to see what I've been missing all these years. And I will be doing reviews of those as I read them, as well as these new ones, and like I said, the source books. And if I get to any position where I'm comfortable enough in my knowledge of the topic, like I did with the Dark Age, I'll do an info dump video. But that's going to, I've got to read more and need to definitely take some notes. I'm not going to write a script, but I will have some notes just to make sure I hit all the high points. And that's been one of the delays in doing the faction videos that we've been talking about, is I got to get all my information together, read up as much as I can, so I'm not just like, oh, these are the Highlanders. They wear kilts and play bagpipes, and some of them drive a mech that's called the Highlander. And that's it. I want there to be more to it than that. So it's a work in progress. Hopefully you guys stick around for it. But at any rate, just remember, no guts, no galaxy.